Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Sunday segment of Voices of Empowerment with Dr. B. I am here with you again. I absolutely love sharing our time and space with you. I am Dr. Bianca Miss B. Lee. I am a licensed therapist, psychologist, cognitive behavioral therapist. I am a spiritual teacher, mentor, leader, reader, astrologer, all of the things. I do all of the things. But today we are here collectively to read through this phenomenally provocative love that is provoking us in the most uncomfortable yet necessary way. This book, Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents, written by Isabel Wilkerson. Listen, if you have not heard of this book, um, I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why. You should have heard of this book. No matter what the ethnicity, it doesn't matter. You should have heard of this book. You should be reading this book. If you do not have this book, I'll show you exactly how you can obtain your own very own free copy of this book by way of our platform. But even if you have not read the book, there is a movie adaptation of this book. It's called Origins. You can find it on Amazon Prime. That's how I watched it, but it's called Origins. This book is not a non-fictional book. It is not a fictional book. It is a non-fiction. It is historically based. It is based off of 100% factual events that took place in history in the Indian culture, in the Nazi Germany Jewish culture, as well as the American South. Okay. And it's discussing the different castes and, like the title says, the origins of our discontent. It really has been telling. Okay. It's been telling. It's been really, really, really eye opening. It's been hard. I'm not going to lie. It's been hard to read at times. There's been chapters that I've read where I broke down in tears. I could hardly get through it. Because it's such truth that is just hard to digest. It's hard to swallow. It really, really is. But we have to face it in order for us to navigate to healing, towards healing. We have to reveal where the sickness is. We have to identify the disease in order for us to do the proper work to rid ourselves of said disease. Okay. And so this is part of doing so. But before I go into that, right? I want to talk about the climate that we're in. We all know, you cannot, no, nobody is oblivious to what is happening in our nation, in our country, amongst our government, within our communities. We're not oblivious to any of it. Okay. There's been so much going on. There's been so much happening, man. And in the midst of it all, I just want you to know too, for us to be a country of free speech and all of this and then the third, right? The amendments and the rights and all of the things, right? For some reason, people are coming under attack for operating in those rights, right? I.e., the Jimmy Kimmel cancellation. I'm gonna tell you something because I saw that particular. I didn't watch the show, but I saw the clip of what he said that supposedly got him canceled. Right? How he apparently said something negative, quote unquote, about Charlie Kirk. He did not actually. He was more speaking on how Trump is just so disheveled by the assassination of Charlie Kirk and how he's showing his grief, okay, by way of updating the grand ballroom floor. Construction is what he's doing, on the heels of this terrible murder, right? And that's what he was criticizing. Okay. He said Trump is in stage 4 of grief, which is construction. Okay. He says he's grieving Charlie Kirk like a 4-year-old grieves a goldfish. He was insulting Trump. He was not insulting Charlie Kirk. And yet, immediately, His show was canceled indefinitely, and then they came back a couple of days later and said they would be willing to give him his show back if he apologizes and pays the Kirk family money or pay for their expenses or whatever the case, and then they will lift the cancellation. That sounds like bullying to me, 100%. That sounds like bullying to me, okay? You gonna do what we tell you to do. That is control. You're gonna do what we tell you to do. You're gonna say what we want you to say. You're going to do, you're gonna move how we want you to move, or else. Is that not a bully? That is exactly what's going on in our government. Is that not bullying? I don't understand how, if you are not the affected, race or group of people, I don't understand how you can sit back and be compliant. I don't understand how you can sit back and be complacent. I don't understand how you can sit back and say nothing. It blows my mind, okay? It blows my mind. But we are a country of freedoms, though. Interesting. So it's okay for the government to say and spew, and all of the conservatives to say and spew whatever they want to with no consequence whatsoever. But God forbid anybody else say something that you don't like to hear. Oh, it's disrespectful, and there is retaliation on the back end. 100%. We were just talking about this on Friday on the Talk with Doc. We were just talking about this, how we are tired of being complicit. We're tired. We're tired. We're tired of putting on fake smiles and not having something to say, or having something to say and not being able to say it because of fear of what's to come. Let me tell you something. I don't care. Right is right, wrong is wrong. And those who say nothing when wrong is being done, you're just as guilty. Because where is community at? Where's community? If you can sit back and watch the foolishness go on and have nothing to say or have no type of input whatsoever, turn a blind eye, you're just as wrong. I'm sorry, you are. In fact, no, I'm not sorry. You're just as wrong. Okay? So all of the erasures, we got racial erasures and all of this stuff. So Joy Reid, who used to be a journalist on one of the major networks, she got let go for speaking out. Don Lemon got let go for speaking out. In fact, I think they're doing even better on their own platforms, to be perfectly honest, because they are not censored. They're not censored. Love that for them, okay? But I will say this. Joy Reid, she made a statement. She said, to MAGA, from Joy Reid, the subject is, why are y'all so angry? Why are y'all so angry? She says, why are y'all so angry? You have the White House. You have both houses of Congress. You have the Supreme Court that's completely obedient to the president. They give him unlimited power. They are willing to say that he can take SEALs Team 6 and kill anybody he wants, and they are willing to affirm that. They are willing to say that ICE can racially profile anybody they want. The U.S. Supreme Court has said you can racially profile Latinos based on their accent or the way they look. You guys have everything you want. Legal racial profiling. You've ended DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. You ended affirmative action. You get all the best jobs, even if you are not qualified. Nepotism. You can be a Fox Weekend host and be the Defense Department Secretary of Defense at the same time. You can be Caste Patel, a podcaster who wants to go to Valhalla and run the FBI as long as you are conservative. You have everything. Why are y'all angry? She says, WTF are you angry about? You banned all of our books meaning African American history. You have banned Black history, banned the 1619 Project. 1619 is the very first year where transatlantic slave trade began, when the first ship holding Africans that were taken from their own land was brought over here to become slaves. Yes, that was the year, 1619, for those who don't know. It was banned. The project was banned. You don't have to compete with women for jobs. You have chased them out of the military. You've chased them out of the Department of Defense. You've gotten rid of all the Black history in museums. Museums are terrified. The people who work for the federal government are afraid to say the word Black. You guys have canceled Black scholarships. You doggone near ready to get rid of HBCUs. Donald Trump just recently said they are not going to fund any minority serving institutions. You've gotten rid of it. You have gotten rid of scholarships for Black kids to go to college. What more do you want? And for those of you all who didn't know that this is a real thing, this is a real thing. These things that she's speaking about actually has happened and is taking place. How could you see or hear this going on and say nothing, do nothing? Oh, because it's not affecting you? Someone said this, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said this. He says, for someone to look at what's happening over in Palestine and Gaza and things like that, and say that has nothing to do with me, I'm not concerned about that, that's not my problem. For someone to look over there and say that is a problem in and of itself. You know why? Because what they're planning over there, what they're doing over there, they're absolutely planning for you over here. Think it not strange. Okay? Just like back in the day, and we learned this in this book, Caste, just like back in what's his name? What is his name? Nazi leader. I don't even remember. A good thing I don't remember this man's name. Adolf Hitler. Just like he fashioned what he did after the way America enslaved people and got away with it. The only difference that he had was the fact that he didn't know how America was coming out unscathed. He didn't know. He was like, how are they coming out looking like the good guys all the time still? When I'm public enemy number one. How is that possible? But he fashioned the way that he does things after the way that America was enslaving. And so now what's happening? America is fashioning how they're doing things after the way that Hitler did them. And we have nothing to say, huh? We have no problem with that. Please, somebody, make it make sense to me. Make it make sense to me. How can you sit back and be complicit? I do not understand this for the life of me. But yet you want us to work with you, work for you, work under you, work. I don't understand this. And have nothing to say. I'm going to tell you something. Love my team that I work with at the school that I work with. I do. I really do. But last week, one of the days was Constitution Day. And we got a message from our leader that says, we're going to dress in red, white, and blue in honor of the Constitution. I looked at that message and I said, absolutely not. I'm not. I said it to myself. They are, listen, we have the right to do whatever we want to do. I'm not. You know why? Because the very authors and the constructors of said Constitution considered my people only 1/3 a human being. The authors, the signatures on this paperwork, this Constitution, every one of the signatures had slaves in their backyard. And I'm supposed to dress and honor this? Really? I'm supposed to do that with a smile on my face? Absolutely not. I dress with in black from head to toe. Black from head to toe. From head to toe. We're not doing that. And the thing is, for me, again, love my team that I work with. But the thing is, for me, and the problem that I have is that it's not considered enough, because on this staff are Black employees. Hmm. I see that we are a people overall, no race, just us, everybody, who, if it does not affect me and mine, it doesn't bother me. I don't care about it. If it does not affect me and mine, I'm not gonna that's not, I'm not gonna give ear to that. I don't do that. I'm not worried about that. That in and of itself is our problem, which is why we have complicit people. Yeah, that's a problem for me. But that's why we're here, confronting the problems. We're confronting the poison. We're confronting the disease. I tell you what, although back in the day with Martin Luther King and, all of the protests and things like that, it worked then. It worked then because they were not backing off. Mm-mm. You don't want to treat us fairly? No worries. We're going to take away your money, because you want our money, you want our labor, you want our money, but you don't want to respect us. Okay, no worries. We're going to retrieve everything that we give to you. We're taking our resources. We'll walk. The bus boycott, they walked for a year and a half. They walked for a year and a half. Mm-hmm. You don't want to respect us, then you don't want our money. No worries. They walked for a year and a half. Sure did. Carpooled, all of that for a year and a half. They had staying power. They meant what they said. They did. And when the bus companies was losing money and going into debt, that is the only time that they were willing to sit down and actually have a conversation to make it partly fair for Blacks to start riding the bus. Oh, they made them take them seriously. Money talks. Money talks. With that being said, picketing today is just simply not working anymore. It worked then, it does not work now. You know why? Because they know that today, unfortunately, we're not going to stick to it. Remember the boycott of Gucci, Prada, Balenciaga. Balenciaga was supporting of child, inappropriateness. And everybody's still wearing Balenciaga right now. Remember H&M, where they had a little Black boy with a T-shirt that says "the coolest monkey in the jungle" in their advertisement. We boycotted them for a hot minute until they had the wildest sale, and sure enough, we forgot all about the boycott. The little Black boy or the coolest monkey in the jungle went right back, and have been going back since. Remember Prada? Remember Gucci? Remember all of those? We boycotted for a hot second and came off of it. That's why the picketing is not working, because we are predictable and they are not taking us seriously, because we're not taking ourselves seriously. So when they silenced Jimmy Kimmel, and I know that company also owns Hulu, Disney Plus, Disney, Walt Disney, all of the things, I canceled every streaming app connected to them. That's how you affect change. You go where the money is. Ask Target. Ask Target. They can tell you the hard way. They chose the hard way. We pulled our money and they suffered and still are. You got to make yourself be respected. You got to make them respect you. Make your presence be respected because you are someone. And what you have and who you are, what you bring to the table is of value. You are not to be diminished, belittled, undermined, underlooked, overlooked, underseen, all of none of the things. You want somebody to respect you, make them respect you if they don't want to willfully do it on their own. You are just as important as they are. You need to act like it. With that being said, that's why we're reading this book right now. Okay? Because we need to understand where it all began. And we've been understanding this. This chapter is chapter 24. It is entitled Cortisol, Telomeres, and the Lethality of Caste. A young man immigrated from Nigeria at the age of 17 to attend college in the United States. His father paid the tuition, and at the end of the first semester, the young man went to pick up the refund at the bursar's office. "You speak very good English," the clerk told him. The Nigerian man excoriated the clerk. "Of course I speak good English," he said. "I speak English better than many Americans. I speak other languages as well. Don't ever say that again." He discovered that in America, he was not seen for his skills or his education. He was seen as Black before anything else. I'm going to pause right there. I can attest to this because I was given a position to oversee a program at my institute that I work for. And I sent an email to some of the instructors and to the parents and things like that. One of my coworkers, and I know she meant no harm, but it's the statements like that is very condescending. Okay, she didn't know it, but this is what I'm saying. Out of the abundance of your heart, your mouth speaks. That is scripture. Out of the abundance of your heart, your mouth speaks. So she said to me, "Oh my goodness, you're doing an amazing job. Your email that you sent out, oh my goodness, it was awesome." She was like, "It was so professional." Huh. I'm thinking to myself, okay, it's for work. Why wouldn't it be professional? But that very thing that this young man just said, you know, in this statement here, it says he discovered that in America, he was not seen for his skill or his education. So prior to me sending that email to my to my coworkers, it wasn't expected of me to be so professional and to sound so professional. Why would you say, "Oh, it was so professional," regarding an email sent at work, for work, about work? It should be professional. Why is that shocking to you? It's shocking because I'm a Black woman and I'm not supposed to sound as professional as I do. Huh. Look at that. A professional Black woman sounding professional in an email. I was like, wow. He was seen as a Black before anything else. It was an identity he was unaccustomed to that had no meaning back home where everyone had similar coloring. Now it seemed to mean everything. Exactly. The African Americans were always talking about being profiled and mistreated, and he hadn't paid it much attention at first. But the longer he was in the United States, the more he shed his accent, as immigrants often do, and the more Americanized he became, the more he began to experience life as an immigrant. Not as an immigrant, not solely as a Nigerian, but as a Black man in a hierarchy that disfavored people who looked like him. Women clenched their purses as he approached, shrank from him on the elevator, crossed the street to avoid passing near him. He was followed in stores as if he were a felon, and the authorities questioned him more intensely than he was accustomed to, more intensely than the white men he noticed. A white driver locked her door when he merely drove it up in traffic one day. He went and locked his doors too to show that he was as concerned for his safety as she was. He found himself passed over for promotions as a compliance officer, and despite his seniority and experience, he was laid off. And he wondered, as many people assigned to the subordinate caste cannot help but consider, if race had anything to do with it. Before coming to America, he would have thought it preposterous. Maybe the African Americans were not working hard enough, were not educated enough. Now, having lived longer in the United States than in Nigeria, he knew better than to dismiss what they said out of hand. Once, when he pulled into a parking space, an older white woman whose car he had parked next to turned and stared, then recoiled backward in her driver's seat. I see her, he told the passenger in the car with him. He said, I don't give a ish. Except actually he did, or rather, his physiology did. Modern medicine has long sought to attribute the higher rates of disease in African Americans relative to white Americans in genetics. But it turns out that sub Saharan Africans do not have high rates of high blood pressure, diabetes, and heart disease, while African Americans have the highest rates of those conditions of all ethnic groups in the United States. The Nigerian man now in America was living this too. My father lived to 90 years old, the man said. He had no high blood pressure until the last day of his life. I just went to the doctor and he tells me I have high blood pressure and early signs of diabetes, he said. And I am just 54. The effects of spending my entire adult life as a black man in this country are making me sick 40 years ahead of my own father back in Nigeria. Wow. The friction of caste is killing people. Societal inequity is killing people. The act of moving about and navigating spaces with those whom society has trained us to believe are inherently different from us is killing people, and not just the targets. Studies are showing that prejudice itself can be deadly. Neuroscientists have found that harboring this kind of animus can raise a person's blood pressure and cortisol levels, even during benign social interactions with people of different races, wrote the neuropsychologist Elizabeth Page Gauld. Prejudice itself can be deadly. These physical reactions can put the person at greater risk for stroke or diabetes or heart attacks and premature death. A study of white Americans who scored high on a measure of automatic prejudice, meaning the degree to which they associate certain ethnic groups with negative stereotypes at the level of the unconscious, found that when they were put into situations where they were, for example, to be interviewed for a job by an African American or to have social interactions with Latinos, they perceived the people of a different ethnicity as a threat, even in a safe laboratory setting. The threat they perceived as a result of their prejudice set off their body's alarm system. Their panic produced automatic physiological responses, as would occur if they were in a combat or confronting an oncoming car, restricted blood flow to the heart, or flooding of the muscles with glucose as the body releases cortisol, the hormone useful in the rare moment when one might need to escape danger, but damaging to the body on a regular basis. The combination of reduced blood flow, constrictions to the circulatory and digestive system, and the breakdown of muscle by cortisol can lead to life-threatening damage to the heart and the immune system, and to death before one's time. Even the briefest exposure is all it takes to activate the body's response. Among whites, the sight of a black person, even in faded yearbook photographs, can trigger the amygdala of the brain to perceive threat and arm itself for vigilance within 30 milliseconds of exposure. The blink of an eye, researchers have found. When whites have a bit more time for the conscious mind to override the automatic feeling of threat, the amygdala activity switches to inhibition mode. When whites are prompted to think of the black person as an individual, imagine their personal characteristics, the threat level falls. This shows that it is possible to override our worst impulses and reduce these prejudices, wrote the psychologist Susan Fiske. But to do so in a meaningful way requires forethought and awareness of the unconscious biases passed down through the generations, and the chance for people different from one another to work together as equals on the same team with shared goals that require cooperation to succeed. Fiske said, outside of sports and the military, American society provides few such opportunities. This leaves many Americans at risk without knowing it. As they go about their days interacting with coworkers, neighbors, contractors, or other ordinary people perceived as unlike themselves, they can be in danger of worsened health and premature illnesses due to the threat signals triggered by the person's own unaddressed prejudice. That is so very true. The body keeps the score, guys. The body keeps the score. The body knows all, feels all, connects all, attracts all. The body does. So your face can say one thing all day long. You can you can use words that says, "Oh no, I'm fine. Oh no, you're good. Oh no, you're da 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 da." But your body, your muscles, your circulatory system, your organs, all of it feels it all. Yep. On the other hand, on the other side of the caste system, scientists have connected a key indicator of health and longevity, the length of human telomeres, to one's exposure to inequality and discrimination, primarily focusing on the telomere lengths of African Americans. A telomere is a repeating sequence of double stranded DNA at the end of a chromosome. The more frequently a cell divides, the shorter the telomeres become, wearing out the cell in a process that public health scientist Arlene Geronimus, in her pioneering 1992 work, termed weathering. It is a measure of premature aging of the cells and thus of the person bearing those cells, and of the early onset of disease due to chronic exposure to such stressors as discrimination, job loss, or obesity. These studies initially focused on the accelerated aging of the telomeres of African Americans, but expanded research is finding that this kind of cell damage results from one's exposure to social inequality and difficult life conditions rather than merely one's race and ethnicity. Thus, the telomeres of poor whites, for example, are shorter than those of wealthier whites, whose resources might better help them weather life's challenges. The opposite is true for people in the lower caste in America. Socioeconomic status and the presumed privilege that comes with it do not protect the health of well to do African Americans. In fact, many suffer a health penalty for their ambitions. Middle class African American men and women are more likely to suffer from hypertension and stress than those with lower incomes, wrote the sociologist George Lipsitz. The stigma and stereotypes they labor under expose them to higher levels of stress inducing discrimination in spite of, or perhaps because of, their perceived educational or material advantages. That is so very true. Because we, even the learned versions, portions of us, we have to work 3 times as hard. We can have more education, we can have more experience, or whatever the case, it doesn't matter. But we have to work 3 times as hard to prove that we are actually skilled and worthy and qualified for the positions that we have. I can understand this and I can relate to this. I resonate 100% to it. The pattern applies to another marginalized group, Mexicans in America. It turns out that poorer Mexican immigrants have longer telomeres, meaning healthier, younger cells than better off Mexican Americans. Poorer Mexicans are likely to be newer to this country and to cluster together in closer support networks. Their isolation from the mainstream and their language barrier could inadvertently insulate them from the discrimination that more affluent Mexicans may face as they navigate the caste system on a daily basis. I can understand that too. Those who were born in the United States or have lived in the country for many years would have greater exposure to the damaging effects of stereotyping and stigma. Yep. All of these groups appear to be paying a price when they step outside of the roles assigned them in a hierarchy. High levels of everyday discrimination contribute to narrowing the arteries over time, said the Harvard social scientist David R. Williams. High levels of discrimination lead to higher levels of inflammation, a marker of heart disease. People who face discrimination, Williams said, often build up a layer of unhealthy fat known as visceral fat surrounding vital organs, as opposed to subcutaneous fat just under the skin. It is this visceral fat that raises the risk of diabetes and cardiovascular disease and leads to premature death. And it can be found in people of all ethnicities based on their experience of discrimination. Black women experience higher levels of discrimination than white women do, Williams said. But when white women experience discrimination, the effects are the same. So discrimination leading to higher levels of visceral fat, that is true for African American women and for white women. When whites report higher levels of discrimination, their health is also hurt. It really says something about the nature of human interaction. When it comes to life expectancy, middle-aged and less educated white Americans are experiencing a downward trend as we have seen it. But people of color are at the bottom of the caste system, who bear the brunt of societal stigma, still have an overall lower life expectancy than their white counterparts at every level of education, according to Williams. The average white American at age 25 is likely to live 5 years longer than the average African American, while white high school dropouts have a lower life expectancy than their more educated white counterparts. They live 3 years longer than African American high school dropouts. And white college graduates live 4 years longer than African American college graduates. Thus, people of color with the most education, who compete in fields where they are not expected to be, continually press against the boundaries of caste and experience a lower life expectancy as a result. The more ambitious the marginalized person, the greater the risk of what evolutionary biologist Johnson L. Graves calls the out of place principle of social dominance. Man, oh my goodness, that is so true. Graves found that hypertension rates of blacks and whites are roughly the same when affluent African Americans are deleted from the equation. The caste system takes years off the lives of subordinate caste people the more they find themselves in contention with it. Come on here. There is a black tax that we pay that hurts our health, and the gap is larger among the college educated than it is among high school dropouts. It is. Williams said, we still carry that burden to engage in a heightened vigilance, which means you're careful of how you look, how you appear, how you dress, absolutely, how you speak, everything, everything. Williams had a friend, a middle-class black businessman, who would never leave the house in the sweats and sneakers that his white neighbors wore without a moment's thought. He couldn't afford to. He took great care whenever he left the house, and it took more time, more forethought for even the most casual errand. If his wife needed a gallon of milk and he needed to run to the supermarket to get that gallon of milk, he would run into the house to get a jacket and tie, Williams said. It was his way of trying to minimize the likelihood that he's going to be perceived as a criminal because he's a young black male. That is what we live with, and it is taking a toll on our lives. Absolutely. Absolutely. It seems that people in the dominant caste know in their bones that the playing field tilts toward the group they happen to have been born to. Years ago, back in the 1990s, the political scientist Andrew Hacker posed a theoretical question to his white undergraduates at Queens College in New York. He asked them how much they would have to be paid to live the next 50 years as a black person. The students thought it over and came back with a figure. Most said they would need $50 million, $1 million for every year that they would have to be black. They felt they would need it, he said, to buy protection from the discrimination and dangers white people know they would face once they were perceived to be black. I'm going to leave with that. I'm going to leave with that. So that right there in and of itself says, it's not that you don't know what we go through. Mm-mm. You're fully aware of what we go through. You just don't want to experience it. Someone else said it like this. I believe it was Cheryl Shepherd. She said, they want our rhythm, but not our blues. You want our culture, the way that we do things, the way that we dress, the way that we walk, talk, dance, sing, all of that. But you don't want our misery, our story, our struggle. You don't want that. The college students said they would have to be paid for the next 50 years to live the life of a black person. They would have to be paid $50 million, 1 million for every year that they have to be a black person in this country because they will need to have to afford protection. So you're aware. You're not oblivious. You see it every day. Because if you were given an opportunity to trade places with us, you wouldn't dare. Because you are fully aware of what we have to deal with. You're not oblivious. You're complicit. I'm going to leave us with that. On Tuesday, we will be back here. We're going into our next section entitled Part 6, Backlash. Backlash. Chapter 25, A Change in the Script. Part 6, Backlash. Chapter 5, A Change in the Script. Okay? As per usual, if you need the reading, if you want the book, you can have it free of charge. Yes, we are a nonprofit organization. Yes, we do accept and appreciate donations. However, although they are welcome, they are not required for you to get your copy of this book that we are reading collectively. Any book that we read collectively is always made available to you. I purchased it already. You don't have to buy it again, okay? It is an ebook PDF version of it, but it's yours with if you desire it, okay? Also, we would love for you to join us to read it along with us because we read one chapter at a time. If the chapter is small, then we'll read the next chapter. But we read one chapter at a time because we like to chew on it. We like to, really, really allow it to allow ourselves to digest what is being said. We're not just reading books just to be reading them. No, 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 just to say we got through with it. No, we're intentional and deliberate about what we read and how much we read and how much we take in and digest. Okay. So to get your own copy, you can email me at info@biancamissblee.com. Again, info@biancamissblee.com. Or you can send me an inbox on whatever platform you're listening from. We are on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Clubhouse. We're everywhere, okay, right now. And I want to thank you for wherever you're listening from for tuning in and giving your interaction, your energy, just being here with us, okay? So wherever you're listening from, go ahead and send me a message. You can do so with your email address that you prefer the book to go to, and I'll send it personally to you, okay? If you want to visit my website to see who am I and what I offer, you can feel free to do so as well. For those who are watching via video, it is on the screen. For Clubhouse, it is above my head. You can tap the link above me and you'll go straight to my website and just peruse around and see what you like and things of that nature. I have to put a review up that I just received yesterday. I was so honored to receive it, so I'll put that out there too. Other reviews are there as well. All of the merchandise that I have merchandise on my website that is not just on my site, it's also at walmart.com. So wherever you want to get it, even my book is on my website, but it's also on Amazon, on Audible, and Walmart as well. So it's up to you all wherever you want to get it. If you can get it from me, I'll send it directly to you, and it'll be signed, personalized, of course. And we'll go from there. But you can go to the website and take advantage of some of the offers and the services and things like that. Whatever you see fit, whatever resonates with you, feel free to take advantage of it. That's what it's there for. Okay. Follow me on social media, you all: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever you are watching from or listening from, or whatever platform you prefer to be on. It is Dr. Bianca Miss B. Lee. I am there for you. Okay. If you have any questions or you want to inquire about any services that I offer, feel free to text me. Call me at 706, I'm sorry, 570-2630. That is 706-570-2630. That is my business line. I'm always available to respond. I'm the only one that responds. Let me correct that. I am not always available. On my off days, I am off. OFF, okay? On my off days, I am off. Okay? I need people to understand that. Just like you want your day off to be off, I do too. Come on, somebody. Okay? I do too. I want to be considered just like you want others to consider you. Understood? Understood. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. All right. I have to reiterate that. I have to iterate and reiterate that because some don't quite seem to understand that. All right. But it's okay. People only do what is allowed. All right. But that's all right. Okay. Alrighty, you all listen. That concludes our time today. I want you to get back to your family, get back to your day, finish the rest of this off day, however you see fit to do so. Rest, relax, reset, rejuvenate, and get ready for the new week ahead. Okay. All wins, no losses, all hits, no misses. I love you. I mean it. There is absolutely positively nothing you can do about it. Don't you even try it. We'll see you back here on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Voices of Empowerment with Dr. B. Peace.